The Dune series by Frank Herbert is one of the most popular and beloved sci-fi stories in the world, right up there with the likes of Halo and Star Wars, at least pre-Disney acquisition. The success that he found with his collection of novels have inspired at least a dozen movies and video games to be created in the last 20 to 30 years. I vaguely remember playing Emperor Battle for Dune back in the early 2000s on one of my dad's old computers, and just loving the atmosphere from the music and the gameplay, and really captures the feeling of being on the barren deserts on Arrakis. But we're not here to talk about that game. We're here to talk about Dune Spice Wars, an indie grand strategy title made by Shiro Games that just came out of early access. Spice Wars pulls a lot of actual characters and themes straight from Dune, but doesn't actually interact with the events in the novels, which was probably a good call, as they didn't probably want to compete with the original story at all. Instead, it focuses more on creating an accurate simulation of what it would be like to lead one of the great houses that come to take control of Arrakis. Most of the major factions are here for you to choose from, with each having special units and bonuses to lean into certain playstyles. House Atreides, for example, leans into a more diverse and honorable strategy, with units that upgrade in power if you have a mixture of different types, and house bonuses that improve the more you try to help other factions as well as your own. Once you choose your faction, there are three main modes to interact with: a 4-player battle with average-sized maps, a smaller 2-player scenario for quick games, and a conquest mode, which is basically the campaign for this game, where you fight a series of sector battles until you control the entire planet. The conquest mode was definitely my favorite, since each sector conquered gives you permanent bonuses for the rest of the campaign, but it takes a while to finish, so be ready to put in about 10 to 20 hours there until you're done. You can find all these modes in public multiplayer servers as well, with plenty of active matches and an official Discord to find a group or to just chat about the game. Having a list of lore-accurate houses with multiple different game modes and working multiplayer, in my eyes reflects the efforts of a passionate studio that really wanted to make a great Dune game, which is also mirrored in the gameplay itself. The goal of any session in Spice Wars is to win control over the planet Arrakis. You can do so through multiple different avenues. 1. By eliminating every other faction in the game. 2. Through gaining a certain level of hedge money, or basically reputation. 3. Through being elected as governor of the planet. Or 4. By owning a majority share in the Chaum marketplace, which is like an intergalactic stock market in the Dune universe. None of these are easy feats, but can all surprisingly be attained in the same session if you can really master all the different systems that play here. So now that we have the OBJ in the view, here's what the gameplay loop looks like. And take a second to focus up, because there's a lot of moving parts here, but we'll take it one by one. You start off in classic RTS fashion, with one region housing your main city and a large map covered by the fog of war. You start by building units, and then you send them out to explore nearby regions, which house one city each to be captured. Capture the city, and you claim the region, increasing your reputation and acquiring the unique traits that each region provides to your faction. Then, once you have a city, you can build structures that collect resources or give bonuses for you to utilize. Each city has a maximum cap though, so you have to decide which buildings give the maximum benefit in that region. You repeat this process until the game unlocks developments, which fills the role of the tech tree for Spice Wars. Overall, the tech tree itself is not that massive, but it does its job of letting the player unlock buildings and perks tailored to the specific way they choose to play. Then we have my personal favorite mechanic, the Landsraad Council, which is a pretty frequent meeting of all the major and minor houses to vote on resolutions for the whole empire to follow. This is where the game can get really crazy, because depending on how many votes you have, you can pass resolutions that completely modify entire sections of the game, like the cost of buildings or the upkeep on military units, pretty much anything you can think of. The downside of this, however, is that only 3 resolutions are voted in one Landsraad, which are chosen randomly, so you have to play with the cards you are given. I love the system, as it can net you incredible gains, but also cause immense damage to your empire if you can't adapt to your situation on the fly. Really makes for some spicy plays and counterplays if you can respond quick enough. And after a while, the Lancerad will put forth charters instead of resolutions, which are permanent roles given to a house that all have immense benefit connected to their respective title. Through charters, you can eventually achieve the Duke Governorship, netting you complete victory over Arrakis, so there is serious benefit to the Lancerad. Next is the espionage system. As the game progresses, you gradually collect agents, which are special units that you can assign to investigate specific organizations, like the Lancerad, and increase your information level on them, netting more benefits and resources depending on who you assign them to. This can also be applied to opposing houses, allowing you to see private information on the enemy's assets and regions under their control. In addition, this system gives you the ability to perform operations on specific regions. These are actions that can provide positive or negative effects on both cities and units depending on the situation. However, they are one-time use actions that need to be prepped beforehand and recharged after use, so you have to plan ahead and accurately predict which operation you'll need to use them effectively. The last major system I want to mention is the Chaum Market. This is easily the most boring aspect of Spice Wars, even though it's directly linked to the buying and selling of spice, the most important resource in this game. Over time, the owners of the Chaum open up a portion of their market shares for you and your opponents to purchase. If you can manage to get a majority share of the Chaum marketplace, you win through an economic victory. The problem is that you can't buy a massive amount of shares all at once, and you have to wait until enough shares go on sale to get a majority holding. It's a really watered down version of what an actual stock market is like, and just feels a bit out of place in a sci-fi game about giant sandworms. But that's really the only complaint I have for Spice Wars, as everything else here is awesome. The art style is simple but stylized, with a really colorful palette to make the desert landscape look so much more vibrant than in real life. The music is amazing, with loads of flutes and wind instruments to immerse the player in the feeling of being on a deserted planet. The gameplay is extremely dense, providing many different avenues to win the game depending on which way you want to go. And all this is steeped with loads of accurate homages to the Dune universe that actually makes me want to go read Dune for myself. And if a video game makes me want to stop playing that game and go read the book that it's based on, chances are that that's a really good video game. But I haven't even mentioned loads of other mechanics because there's just so much to keep track of during a session. You've got sieges, local raiding parties, points of interest, spice harvesters, air units and frigates, deep deserts, special regions. The list is extensive, and I could easily double or triple the length of this review by talking about those things. But personally, I feel like these are just the cherry on top to an already stellar video game, and are something you should discover for yourself if you choose to pick this up. Let's go to my closing thoughts on Dune Spice Wars. Is it fun? 100%. If you have any interest in RTS or empire management games, Spice Wars is going to have something that you will enjoy in its complex but rewarding gameplay. Is it worth the current price of $35? I certainly think so. I've only gotten 25 hours so far, but once I stop fanboying for House Atreides and start giving the other factions a try, I know I'll be clocking in at least double that once I come out the other side. Also, it's on Xbox Game Pass, so if you don't want to own it, then that'll probably be a far cheaper option for you. But other than that, I've said my piece on Dune Spice Wars, so thank you very much for watching this review. If you found this video helpful in some way, leaving a like or a comment would be much appreciated. And if you want more reviews of indie gems like this in the future, be sure to subscribe so you get notified of the next one I make. Let me know if you've already played Spice Wars, and what you thought of Shiro Games' best-selling title so far. Thank you again for watching, and goodbye.